Welcome to Shiplife, the podcast that will tell you all the secrets about working as a musician on a cruise ship, with Erik Rubin.
Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's episode, we have a special guest. I wanted to chat briefly with one of the musicians currently working on a cruise ship. One of the great things about the cruise ship is its international environment. You can expect to meet people from all over the globe and make friends from places you have never been to or ever thought about. Mint Parker comes from Uruguay, a small country in South America, with only 3 million people. She works as a guitarist for Six the Musical on the Breakaway, one of the cruises that belong to the Norwegian Cruise Line fleet. She is on her second contract with NCL and is considered to be one of the theater musicians. But in real life, she is much more than that. She is a singer and songwriter and has great music on streaming platforms and lots of videos on YouTube. You wouldn't believe the number of talented artists that you can come across on a cruise ship. But let's get to it. Hello, Mint, and welcome to Shiplife, the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Erik. I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here with you today, so thanks for the invitation.
I'm glad to hear that. It's my pleasure. My first question has to do with packing. How many suitcases did you bring to the ship, and why so many?
I don't have that many suitcases with me right now. Other people have a lot more, believe me. But to be honest, I ended up my previous contract with 3 suitcases and 3 guitars.
Oh, Jesus.
And I don't want that to happen again. Right now, I have 1 large suitcase, 1 carry-on, and my guitar. And that's enough.
You travel light.
Yeah, you could say that. So yeah, it's very tricky to pack for 6-7 months in advance.
Not easy, of
And
course.
as a musician, you need to bring your guitar, and I also like to bring part of my home studio for recording. But I first consider what I need for the job, because they provide us with everything for 6, but that's not the case with Burn the Floor. And since it's a separate show, I have to use my guitar.
And how many clothes did you pack?
Well, since we don't have an everyday uniform, we need to be ready for every occasion.
Definitely.
For example, I try to go to the gym often, so I need clothes for that. And then there are parties and cocktails. Also, I'm going to spend Christmas and New Year's here. And those are times when you want to look good.
Of course.
Then, of course, there's the beach and some tourist activities. So you see, there are a lot of things to consider.
And there's also a dress code, right?
Yeah, the dress code is smart casual, which applies when we are in passengers' areas only and talking to guests. But in the evening, we have to be more formally dressed. Of course, this is only when you are in passengers' areas. Otherwise, you can dress comfortably.
Like in your pajamas.
No, not really.
And what appliances can you bring on the ship? I used to have a small kettle in my room, but I think that's not allowed anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that's allowed. Sometimes there's no point in even considering those things, especially hair dryers, humidifiers. Those types of things can be considered a fire hazard, and they may confiscate them on your way in. Sometimes they give them back to you at the end of your contract, but most times those small things get lost. But I didn't bring any of that. That never happened to me.
I'm glad to hear you didn't get anything taken from you. How were those first days on the ship?
On my first contract, I was exhausted. I think the first weeks are the hardest. Everything is new, and then all the traveling, a lot of paperwork, and we have what we call the installation process, which are rehearsals, tech runs, and sound checks every day and all day long. All of this while you don't know your way around the ship. And in my case...
yes, it's like a labyrinth.
Yeah, I was lost on a regular basis. I'm a bit embarrassed, but it took me a while to find my way around the ship.
But when you first get to the ship, you are usually very tired.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of safety trainings you have to attend, so you are excused.
I hope so, yeah.
So tell me, Mint, what do you do on the ship?
I'm a theater musician. I play the guitar for Six and Burn the Floor.
Oh, yes, of course. You also play for Burn the Floor. Which one do you enjoy the most?
I'd rather not choose a favorite. I mean, both are fine. It's okay. It depends on the day,
to be honest. You don't want to get your hands dirty here.
But I like both.
How many hours do you work in the theater, and how many rehearsals you have per week?
On a show day, well, the shows last about 1 hour each. 6 is a bit longer than that. But we always have a sound check before every show of about half an hour. It depends. Sometimes we need more time.
Sure.
And it takes me about 40 minutes to put on makeup and the costume.
I see.
I also like to warm up my hands before every show, and I like to practice a little bit.
That makes sense.
So I guess you could say we start with the sound check at about 5 in the afternoon. And then the first show is at 7 p.m. The second one is at 9. Then we have a small dinner in between. Everything would end, let's say, at 10:15, and then I have to take off all the makeup. So I usually finish at 11:30-ish.
I see. It's not that bad, isn't it?
No, it's okay.
And the rehearsals?
And the rehearsals, we have usually one rehearsal per week for each show. So we mean 2 rehearsals in total.
Can you describe briefly what an ordinary week would be like for you?
Okay, well, Sundays are considered the first day of the cruise. It's when new passengers arrive on the ship and we are in the home port. It's usually a very relaxed day for me. We only have a company meeting in the afternoon and sometimes we rehearse at night, but it's always a short rehearsal unless we need to fix something.
I see.
Mondays and Tuesdays are show days, so I start working at about 5 p.m. Then Wednesdays are my day off, so I try to rest, get off the ship, or I do nothing.
That makes sense.
On Thursdays, we are in Roatan, and it's my favorite port in this itinerary, but we have a safety drill in the morning, and after that, we always rehearse for an hour. So unfortunately, I don't usually get the chance to get off the ship. Then Friday and Saturday are also show days, so my Friday is pretty much like a Monday now that I think about it.
Yes, indeed. In your free time, do you stay on the ship to practice, or do you get off the ship as soon as you get the chance?
It depends. Sometimes I prefer to stay and play the guitar, to be honest. Some of these ports require you to take a taxi to reach any interesting place or beach, and we don't get as many hours as the passengers to walk around. We need to come back at a certain hour if we don't want to get in trouble, and that can be a bit stressful.
Oh, yeah.
We travel to the same ports every week for months. The other reason why I decide not to get off is money. I came to the ship in order to work and save money, and I can't afford to spend it like a tourist.
Definitely.
Of course, I do it sometimes, and it's okay to enjoy some traveling, but not always.
Before we keep going, I wanted to ask about the rehearsal process you had before getting on board. How is that? What can you tell us about it?
Yes, I went to Tampa for 5 weeks before getting on board. NCL has a big facility that's called the NCL Creative Studios, and there we have a replica of the stage that we will have on the ship. So we mainly work on stakes there, since it's more complex and the queens need to learn it. They have a lot to do on those weeks. I mean, they have to learn to be queens, and this is when they do the hard work. What's interesting is that it is an all-female cast. Even the creative team, choreographer, music supervisor, and stage manager are women. So it's pretty magical and a unique experience, since I'm used to always being the only girl in the room.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I knew about the all-female cast, but I didn't know it also applied to the production team.
Yeah. So in the first 2.5 weeks, we have band practice at night after the queens have worked all day. And in the last weeks, we all get together and we play the show from start to finish, over and over, and have office runs.
Awesome.
And get notes from the creatives and rehearse as much as we can before getting on board.
Which is your current itinerary?
Right now, we are in the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah, the Caribbean.
Yeah, and we are in Mexico.
Oh, I love Mexico. It's such a beautiful country.
Yes, it is. And Belize, Honduras, and the home port is New Orleans.
Changing the subject a little bit, do you get seasick?
No, I don't. I thought I was going to, but it didn't happen. In the beginning, I started taking these pills that you can get here in the ship.
Ooh, yes, I remember those.
Yeah, they make you feel really drowsy. And now, sometimes I use them to help me sleep.
Oh, yeah, some people get addicted to that, but let's keep it a secret.
Yeah, let's do that.
Where is your cabin?
My cabin is on deck 7 forward, which means it's on the left side when the ship is facing forward, and it's on the 7th floor.
Do you share it?
No, I don't share the room, but I have to share the bathroom. We call it the shoilet because it's a toilet with a shower, and I am sharing it now with the drummer.
Oh, the loudest in the room.
Yeah, and we live in small private cabins called Jack and
Yes,
Jills.
I have that
and we
information
share-
reserved for another episode.
yeah.
The types of cabins you may get as a crew member. The musicians get the smaller ones, but they are private, so it's like not that bad. The shared rooms are a bit bigger, but not so much for two people. My respects to the crew members that share the cabin and don't kill the roommate. All right. Well, everybody, I'm afraid we ran out of time for this podcast, but we surely could keep talking for hours. Thank you, Mint, for joining us today and for sharing your experience in this episode.
Oh no, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing this so other musicians can know about this opportunity and another way to expand their careers, and why not work on a cruise ship.
Oh, thanks so much, Mint. You can follow Mint Parker's adventures on her social media. Her Instagram profile is Mint Parker Official, with only one F because it's in Spanish, of course. My name is Erik Rubin, and this was Shiplife.
This was Shiplife, the podcast, with Erik Rubin. Feel free to contact Erik at shiplifethepodcast@gmail.com